Hey 57, let's talk about core cards. So during server versus server, we're going to want to make sure that we enable our cards according to whatever tasks we are going to be doing within the war. We are going to take a look at two pieces of the cards first. So the first piece of a card is going to be its base attributes. And the base attributes can be leveled up using experience. They can either boost your attack boosts or they can boost your defense boost. So you want to use your experience to level these up. There are cards that are not useful during off season, the first one being the Monster Slayer. This card is not useful at all during the off season. If you have experience invested in this one, you may want to consider taking it off so that you can boost either attack or defense on any of the cards that you choose to use for the off season. So let's talk through some of the cards that we're going to be recommending and the combination of these cards. Now, to keep in mind, the combination is going to depend upon what you will be doing. Will you be shielded? Will you be attacking? Will you be in the mud and garrisoning or just attacking? That's going to all depend. It's going to depend which cards you use or which ones you apply will depend upon those actions. So I'm just going to go through what cards there are, and then during the game we'll have the pairings that we believe will be most useful depending on what you do. So the first one that we want to look at is going to be the Battle Streak Morale Boost. So this particular card, what it does is that after each victory you have, your squad morale is going to be increased by 4%. Now, what is really good about this particular card is that during war, most people take all their squads off their walls of the defense. So what you can do is that you can attack a base, and when you win that fight, your morale continues to go up higher, and you can raise it up to a maximum of, in this case, of 12%. That number can be greater if you have more stars on the card, but at this level, it's at 12%. When it returns to the base, you lose that morale boost. So what you want to do is that if you're attacking, then you want to hit bases and then use that one to maybe hit a base that does have squads on their wall, so that you can win that fight. So this particular one is useful again if you're on the mud, if you're fighting, and you're not shielded. The next one is going to be the Quick Stride Quick March. This one has a tactical skill that is has a cooldown. So what this particular one does is that once you enable it, you cannot remove this card for the next 2 hours or the card that's accompanying with it. So it's something to keep in mind when they have the cooldown. If it's a passive skill, then it won't be affected, but you won't have to apply it and then have a cooldown that you have to wait for. But when it has a cooldown, you do have to keep the card on. But this particular card, it gives you the quick march status for 15 minutes. And if you're in the mud, as you know, during the server versus server, the mud slows down your squads. So what this is going to allow you to do is that it's going to boost the speed of your squads and by 18%. Again, this doesn't work for like Desert Storm or Winter Storm, but it does work for the server versus server on the world map. The next one is the Quick Stride Morale Boost. This particular one is usually paired with the other Quick Stride card. Doesn't not have to be, but it usually is. And this one, what it does is that for every 50% march speed bonus that you enable for your squads can also be increased by diamonds. So you can make your squads faster. What it's going to do is that your unit morale is going to be increased by 3% up to a maximum of 9%. And then if you're under the quick march status, which is from the other card, then your squad morale is additionally increased by 9%. So these two are usually paired together if you're fighting in the mud and you want to increase your morale. The Garrison Defensive Group, this one is going to be mostly used by engineers or if you're shielded. Because what this does is that you gain a defensive regroup status for 10 minutes, and it just basically brings your squads right back to your base. So if you're sitting on the edge and you're shielded, your squads, if they get kicked out of the garrison, are now immediately back in your base, and you can send them once more back to the capital and start walking them in that direction to go help again in the garrison. This card is usually grouped up with the Garrison Morale Boost, but again, it does not have to be. But this is a passive effect that's really useful if you're going to be focusing on Garrison, if you're going to be focused on defense, if you're shielded, this is especially useful. So during defensive support battles, if you are doing any kind of defensive support on a base, an alliance building, a neutral building against any enemy commanders on the world map, the unit morale is going to be increased by 3.5. And then if you have other allies in the supported target, then you're going to continue to increase up to 10.5. And if you have it with the defensive regroup status card, then you will be able to increase additionally the squad morale by 10.5. So these are very useful if you are going to be focusing on Garrison. The last card is going to be the Destruction Morale Boost. So if you are an engineer and you are destroying ruins, right, and we're clearing those ruins out so that we can land our own allies on those spots, your unit morale is going to be increased by 9% for 3 minutes. So you can use this to remove any ashed bases from the map, and then go in and do a garrison or help a teammate if you're an engineer and you are shielded. Even if you're not shielded though, if you're an engineer and you're clearing ruins, then you're going to be able to go and have this a little bit of increase of unit morale for your squads. So those are going to be the cards that we want you to take a look at and to recommend. Notice like some of the cards, again, not very useful for this particular off season, like the Demolition Expert. This one is usually paired during the season with the Destruction Morale Boost. Please do not enable this one since we will not be destroying any buildings for the off season, or during the server versus server piece of the off season. So make sure not to have that one enabled. But for the other cards that were mentioned, those are going to be very useful for the war piece of the server versus server. And we want to start practicing using these different cards depending on what we're going to do. Again, in-game, we'll give you the recommendations of which pairings will work best in different scenarios. But start looking through these cards. Look at your own way of playing server versus server and what you feel most comfortable with, and then we'll start to enable these so that we can go in and have a great fight.